Hey now, everybody, this is Professor Island, and today we're talking about the grading policy for the English 101 on-campus course. If you're in one of my on-campus courses, we do not use Blackboard, at least I don't. Everything that we are going to need in terms of internet resource is going to be either available directly through the Citrus College Library or through englit.org, and certainly all the class material that I am going to give you is through englit.org. So if you go to englit.org and you find the lava lamp there, you're in the right place, and you simply scroll down and you look at the on-campus freshman composition courses, and you'll notice there are two English 101 courses. One of them is Learning Community, and if you're not in the Learning Community, if you're not taking SOC 201 and my class together, then the class you want is English 101, and that's what we're talking about today. If you click on this, you will see that there is a list of items here, a list of items here. The items on the left, with the exception of the literary terms, this is your syllabus. So the course description, the course calendar, and the grading policy are the syllabus that I hand out on the first day. The literary terms is what we will cover. It's 1/3 of why you're in a freshman composition English course, and that is because you're going to learn these terms during the course of the semester. The other two things you're going to learn are basic formatting for a college-level MLA formatted research paper, which involves understanding what college-level research is, what those resources are, and of course how to both quote them and document them. And so the works cited page and in-text citation, all that stuff is stuff we will learn during the course, and that'll be over here in the paper format and in test instructions side. If you're looking for examples of the material for the class, things that have been done that have been successful, look over here at the Archive of Tests and Papers, and it'll give you a pretty good idea what you're looking for. But let's talk about the grading policy and assessment. Essentially, what you're doing for me in this class is a series of written works that demonstrate your ability to get to not only get what we're doing in terms of the literary terms, but also formatting it in a college-level type paper. And if you scroll down, you'll find that there are a series of works here that make up your grade. There will be one exam, that'll be a test. It's worth 25% of your grade, and essentially that test will be a timed written essay. And so I will give you a work to analyze. You'll analyze it at home, get ideas, and then bring in a blue book and bring in that story, and you can underline and highlight some passages you're going to use, and then you'll sit down and create a 5-paragraph essay for me in which you analyze the symbolism and the conflict and the irony of that particular work. There is also something called the participation and responses, and basically your participation grade is not based on you showing up on a regular basis, but rather you providing at least 5 responses, 5 completed responses out of the 7 that I give you. So on the first day, you're going to get the syllabus, and the other thing you're going to get is this double-sided piece of paper, or maybe 2 pieces of paper, that are called the responses, and what they have is they have little instructions for each one of the stories that we read. And you would write a 3-paragraph essay analyzing some literary element, conflict or irony or symbolism or whatever, and then you turn that in, and it's a very short work. It's only 3 paragraphs, usually takes about a page, page and a half, and then you turn that in, and then you get immediate feedback from me as to whether or not you're on the right track in terms of using the literary terms, in terms of formatting your quotations, and just other things like grammar and punctuation and that kind of stuff. You get at least 7, usually more, but at least 7 opportunities to get 5 done for an A in participation. If you get 3 of them done by the end of the semester, you get a B, and if you get 2 of them done, you get a C. Anything less than that, you get a D in participation. This is something that goes on during the course of the class, and usually what happens, we'll talk about a story, and then I'll let you know when a due date for a particular response is. So you definitely want to pay attention to that. The majority of your grade is based on papers, and when I mean a paper, this is something that you do over a period of time. This involves some kind of research, and then you create the paper and you turn it in. And the first paper, which is shorter, it's going to discuss whether the story is interpretive or escapist. It's going to discuss character elements like roundness and flatness and internal conflict and external conflicts for the characters. And this paper is worth 20%. The next paper, the final paper, is much more extensive. This is the one that requires outside research. This is where you will utilize the resources like EBSCOhost and the Gale Literature Resource Center that the library staff will explain to you in class, and will provide you links and all that stuff. And this is where you're really creating the research paper that makes English 101 transfer to Cal State, to UC, to the private colleges like USC and University of Laverne and such. And in fact, if you do not submit a final paper, you cannot pass this class. But by the time we get there, you'll all be doing great. As part of doing that final paper, you also need to create an outline of the paper while you're making it. The outline is not designed for you to write the paper and then give me an outline of what you just did. The outline is designed to help you organize what you're doing as you do it. And if you go over to the paper format and test instruction section, you'll find a discussion about outlines, not only what they do, but also what they're for and how it looks. And the idea is that it'll talk about how short introductions are and what the overall thesis statement is, how short conclusions are, and how you use the summary to wrap up your overall point, and then how each body paragraph, and this would be a body paragraph, has a major point, which is the topic sentence for the paragraph, and then has various elements of it that support that point. So if you're going to make a point, for example, that a character is shown to be struggling with a major issue in the story, you'd start off by showing me the conflict, and you'd give me support from the story with a primary quotation, and you'd also then find a secondary source to give me quotation, and you'd be explaining that in your own words, and then you'd say also how that conflict is symbolic, and then you'd find another quotation for that from the story, and another quotation from your resources, and then you'd say there's also irony involved in that symbolic conflict, and again you'd quote from both the primary and the secondary source. And the idea is you're creating this argument that demonstrates that you know not only what conflict and irony and symbol are, but also how authors use them together to create a point. What I do not want to see in your paper, and certainly the outline would give me a heads up if this was a problem, is I do not want to see a body paragraph on symbols, and then a body paragraph on conflicts, and then a body paragraph on ironies. Because those end up just being laundry lists. You need to demonstrate that you understand how a conflict can have irony associated with it, how a symbol can have irony associated with it, and how sometimes the author uses all three together. This outline, like I said, is designed to be a guideline for you to help to make sure that you're not falling into some familiar traps. And as part of that, for the English 101 class, you need at least 4 or more body paragraphs in addition to the introduction and conclusion for that outline assignment. The other thing that you'll be doing for the grade, besides the outline and in preparing the final paper, is something called an annotated works cited. The annotated works cited is an MLA formatted list of the resources that you're going to be using on your paper. And what we do is we have you find 10 items, and with the expectation that you're likely going to end up using anywhere between 4 and 7 of them. But basically, you'll get into EBSCO, you'll get into Gale Literature Resource Center, and by the way, you are limited to those. You are not allowed to use Wikipedia or Shmoop or any of this other stuff. We want you to use valid college-level resources, the same you'll be using, even if you're getting a PhD, you're still going to be in EBSCOhost. And the deal is that when you get into these databases, you'll find articles, and they will actually give you the reference listing of the author and the title of the work and everything that you'll create for your reference page. And then you will give, in addition to that, you'll give a little description of what that thing is. And you need 10 items. One of the items is going to be the primary source. One item is going to be a biography. And then the rest of the items are going to be direct analysis. And that means if you want to discuss, Edgar Allan Poe's Cask of Amontillado, you will find that people have written essays specifically discussing the symbolism and the irony and the conflict in that particular story. And you'll be quoting from them as support of your analysis. The note cards and the outline will obviously be presented before you get to submitting the final paper. And it's important that you do these things not only for your grade, obviously you don't do them, 20% of your grade is gone, but also because they help you to create a better paper. And since, with these 3 items alone, that's 45% of your grade, it's really important that you are keeping up with this and developing your paper as we go along. That's the class essentially, and you want to ask questions if you have any questions as we go along. You can always contact me at engletguideearthlink.net, or you can ask me questions in class. But if you follow along and you stay up with the assignments, you should get through this okay. And certainly a lot of what you're going to learn in this class will help you with any class that requires that you write a research paper. All right. So I will see you in class, and until then, stay in touch.